Children must learn to walk their own path, steer in their own direction. Each wrong turn teaches far more than the right ones. As a parent, we want our children to be value-based. We want our children to have good character. We want our children to know the difference between what is right, what is wrong, what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. We want them to learn the right mannerisms. We want them to have all of this. And in all of this, what we experience as a parent, as a constant urge, is to keep taking the right and corrective measures in their behavior. Because we fear if we will not correct their behavior, this may actually become a part of their personality. And in that fear, and in all of these that we want our children to be, we may actually end up overdoing it, where we may voice, do this, do that, this is not the right way to do it, this is the wrong way to do it, a lot more than it is required. Which means, as a parent, you may actually be engaging in a lot more persistent corrections in your own behavior towards your child, which can actually breed self-doubt. Because what it really does is, when we are constantly checking our children on our behavior, one, it makes them feel that there is less space to think, to make errors, to make mistakes, which also does not help them develop a consequential thinking. It also somewhere impairs their ability to really problem solve, because we are not giving them the space to really make mistakes. Even though we often keep saying it is okay to make mistakes and you must make mistakes, we all learn from mistakes. But in our own behavior, we may actually be showing the opposite, where we feel that the corrective measure needs to be taken. I need to tell my child what is correct before they even make a mistake. So if you are doing that as a parent, it's important that you take count of it and you take a step back. You resist your temptation to correct your child every now and then. Something which one can call as a writing reflex. You want to keep writing your child, you want to keep correcting your child, and it comes as a reflex. So the only way to sort of manage this is first recognize that this is happening in your own parenting style. So you try and control the urge and your reflex, where you keep correcting your child every now and then. What do you do instead? You give the child to actually take their own decisions, make their own choices. You observe, you wait, you watch, you see. Help them and have that conversation with them that helps them to build that reflection of what mistake they made and what differently can they do. Because a lot many times when you keep on giving the solution, the child is not developing their thought process to come up with solutions to a lot of these problems. So first of all, look at what is it that you would want to correct in your child, what behavior you want your child to change. And it has to be something very specific. It can't be a lot many things. You have to start with one thing at a time. You reevaluate it. You think of alternative strategies with your child. You give a timeline, a time period for your child to work on it, which means it could be weeks, it could be a month or two. You reevaluate. You let your child know that even in this, what we've thought about together, if you are struggling, I'm always there to help you, support you. Ensure that you're also talking about these corrections and helping your child recognize these corrections and communicating about them in a calm and a respectful way. A lot many times we may actually be very harsh and belittling in our own tone. That's something that one needs to be very mindful and watchful of as well. At the same time, what I also feel that parents also need some behavior modification. So if it is a reflex in you, along with your child, think of a code word that the moment the child or you, because you can't recognize sometimes, your child may actually recognize that you're nitpicking a lot more. So there's a code word each time it happens that your child says, and you stop that behavior. You take a step back, you think how to reword it, and a lot many times you may also recognize maybe it's not required. You may not require to change or correct that behavior, because again, you need to let your child make some of these mistakes to be able to learn from their experiences. Also, it needs to be a teamwork. So one parent at a time. Both of you don't need to download a lot of your teachings, lessons, and lecturing the child on what the child needs to correct. So one parent at a time. And like I said, it's a collaborative work. What you want your child to change, you work on it collaboratively. So if you want your child to grow into self-confident and a healthy individual, then you take a step back from these persistent corrections, because that breeds self-doubt, not self-confidence. You give them the space to make their mistakes, learn from their own experiences, and you are there to support them, to guide them, to show them the right direction.